teach people how to make a living doing what they love. And so I can't be much of a teacher if I'm not living that life myself. And I'm happy to report that since stopping taking on clients as a service design company in December 2018, I'm able to sustain myself, have a fairly sizable building and prime real estate here in Santa Monica, along with a full-time team of 12 people with a couple additional people offsite working.
G'day everybody, here we are, Changemakers episode number 11, Brad Houston, and today we're sitting down with Chris Do from the Futur, which is, I guess, just a great business name for that reason alone. Getting announced, here he is, he's from the Futur. Well, F-U-T-R, if you don't know Chris Do, as I said in the write-up, I put Chris on par with Gary V, Seth Godin. I know they're both quite different characters, but he is without a doubt a true blue thought leader, and he is in the vein of people that I guess really respect because he's already had a successful career. He has, taught at art school. He's lectured to many people in themes of design, entrepreneurialism, creativity, spoken at conferences all over the world. And then he's decided to leave that and to put his design career behind him, and the agency that's consulted and worked with famous brands all over the world. And he's now on this goal to teach 1 billion people how to live a life and have a career that they actually enjoy doing and that they love, which for anybody who's paid any attention to pretty much anything I've said for quite a while now, these are things that are so close to my heart. I mean, I spent 6 years in recruitment, worked in HR, was a partner in a recruitment business. My old business, Engageneer, was all around the theme of employee engagement. So I'm a huge believer in the importance of people actually doing something that they enjoy and not just going through the motions their whole life and putting one foot in front of the other. So let's get him on here. I was sitting here and I was putting my questions together, and I was thinking one of the challenges here is because he has spoken at so many places and they put out such a phenomenal amount of content, it's kind of almost impossible to potentially ask something that hasn't already been shared elsewhere. But nonetheless, maybe this is the first time you're tuning in and you're not familiar with Chris Do, you're not familiar with the Futur. Well, now you're going to find out all about it. So let's get him in here and say good day. Chris Do.
Hello. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks for joining me. Now, I hope that description or introduction was mostly accurate. Tell me, I guess for people who aren't familiar with who you are, how would you personally describe who you are and what you're doing currently?
Great. Yeah, I'm first and foremost an educator, but I did not start my life as one. I ran a service design company called Blind, founded in 1995, doing motion graphics, essentially servicing commercials or commercial clients and music videos for artists and bands of all sizes and shapes. And that's kind of how I made my way in the world as a creative human being. And that company has run until recently, but we've done over $80 million in revenue. And that was my first life as an entrepreneur. Somewhere along the way, 5 years into starting my company, I started teaching. I found my true love, but I struggled with the kind of money that teachers are paid, especially here in America. I don't know how they pay in other parts of the world, but it's not equal to the amount of value that you give. At least that's my opinion. Of course, I'm biased there. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I started to figure out how to combine something that I love with something that makes money, because that's the whole mission, right? teach people how to make a living doing what they love. And so I can't be much of a teacher if I'm not living that life myself. And I'm happy to report that since stopping taking on clients as a service design company in December 2018, I'm able to sustain myself, have a fairly sizable building and prime real estate here in Santa Monica, along with a full-time team of 12 people with a couple additional people offsite working as independent contractors. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, amazing. It's I take, well, I take my hat off figuratively to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not dissimilar to, I guess, the mission that I'm trying to go on, which is I want to make an impact in the world. But I also want to make a living, and I'm not opposed to money. Money's not my core driver, but I do like the idea of getting back into a situation where I could, buy a wakeboarding boat, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
other things that I'd like to do, and activities that I could share with my family. So I understand, I guess, initial interest in that education space, as having seen it from a different perspective, and having tuned into a lot of your content over the last couple of years. I feel that your sentiments ring pretty close to mine, in the sense that you regularly question the status quo, and particularly in the field of education, sometimes even posing the question of, should somebody even bother going to university at all? For
Mm-hmm.
people who've tuned into to me, they know where I sit on that verdict. I believe that most people can learn vast amounts of information simply from tuning into productions such as yourself. For people who haven't seen the work that these guys do, as soon as you go and have a look at the future, and it's very easy to find, just look up and then future, FUTR, you'll see that they put out an astronomical amount of quality content. And I guess the background that you have in advertising and typography and those sorts of things shines through clearly. So please forgive me if I've butchered some of that here on my on my slides. It was something that was floating in my head even as I was putting the thumbnail together, because I know how detailed you are in terms of typography, and it's been interesting. Like, I've tuned into a few of your live streams where you've done the logo critiques and stuff like that, and watched all 2 hours, even though I'm not personally a designer, but I liked seeing the thought process of how you would deconstruct things and then put them back together again. So was there, like, I guess, a key moment or something that happened that sort of really triggered you and started you on this path of heading down the line of starting the future? Was there a catalyst that sort of occurred? And yeah, I'm interested to understand how this began.
Yeah, I think there are three or four inciting incidents that led to the formation of the future, previously called the school, and I'll talk about those. The first one was just me teaching, and I've been a teacher for over 15 years at Art Center and at Otis, teaching sequential design, storyboarding, basically teaching people how to do what it is that I was doing. And it was on one night in particular that my wife was there with me in class, and she's a designer as well. And she was like, "This is fantastic what you do. I can see why you love this so much. It's great to see the enthusiasm, the energy, and how the kids or the students are responding to you. But I gotta ask you this question. Do you ever get tired of doing the same thing over and over? Do you feel like you could reach more people and make a greater impact if you just got outside of the school?" That didn't sit well with me. I didn't have the answer. That's the first part. The second incident is, as I'm in the industry for quite some time now, I got to see it at its birth as its kind of ground zero, the motion design industry. I also started to see it morph and change. Fewer people were watching commercials. Um, and with DVRs, people were just skipping them altogether and streaming content. So we can see the demand for commercials was going down. Budgets were getting smaller. It was getting more competitive and less creative. So that was a problem. And that was my livelihood. So I needed another plan. And probably the last part of this is that my friend Jose Caballero, he's like, let's go and make YouTube videos. And that was the furthest thing from my mind at that point in time. Make YouTube videos, isn't that where people make like funny cat compilation videos or fail videos or prank videos? I'm not really that interested in that. But he and I were talking about getting together, joining forces to create an education company. And the way that he explained it to me was we got to make video and content to build awareness around us and what it is that we're doing so that people will part with their hard earned cash. So all those three worlds collided, and I figured, okay, let's try this thing. And that was in 2014. He and I since split up. So in 2016, I started a new company, but with the exact same spirit called the Futur. And slowly but surely, we started to dedicate more resources towards it, and it actually became a real legitimate money making machine that allowed us to fund our endeavors.
Yeah. Um, it's been, yeah, I think I take on board Gary V's words when he says, watch what I do and not what I say. When I tune into what you've been doing, or have tuned into what you've been doing ever since, even winding the clock back to when you were doing the school with Jose, it's been really interesting just to, I guess, see that evolution and to see you guys execute, or yourself and the team with Matt and Ben execute all the different elements, I suppose, that allow someone to make revenue. Because anybody who's spent any time at all tuning into YouTube, for example, knows that unless you're getting millions of views, you're not really going to make a lot of money from ad revenue. So seeing the way that you guys have implemented the affiliate marketing and I guess your speaking engagements, and then of course the educational part. So now, given that you put out so much content, I mean, I think or the Future has close to 1 million subscribers, and you're putting out content across a raft of different streams, really, from the creative services through to business services, and then I guess, personal and entrepreneurial side of things. It's intriguing to see, how you can, and the quality and the level, the production value that you put into that, and having the team that you have. I'm interested to know what the tipping point was where there was enough money coming through from these other streams that you could comfortably walk away from Blind and go full in onto the Future. What did that sort of look like? Was there, again, a key sort of moment there where you said, okay, well, we've got a X amount of dollars coming through from all these different mechanisms, and we're able to still put out all this content, as well as then have courses and pro academies and things like that? I'd love to understand, I guess, how you make money when you put out so much great stuff for free, and just that philosophy, or that model of doing things.
Sure. I want to answer, I think, the first question that you're leading up to first, which is how do you know when to flip the switch from doing something that was seemingly was stable to something that's very unstable? And I'll be the first to tell you, I'm a risk taker, but I'm not reckless. I will get into the plane not knowing how to land it, but I'll figure it on the way down. So you kind of build a runway as you're landing. In December 2018, during a staff meeting, we're talking about getting new clients, when one of my creative directors, Matthew, had said, hey, Chris, we'll do all this stuff. We'll go and chase new clients for Blind. But what if we just focus our energy afterwards and building the Future? And he challenged me because I entertained the idea in my mind, but it was never spoken aloud before. And when he said it, it just took me a minute. And then I said, okay, let's do this. Let's call some clients, drum up whatever business we can. And then after we do that, because that won't take us very long, it's not like we have a long directory of people to call, we'll start focusing on the Future. And that was in December 2018. So we made a pledge to ourselves, do everything we can so that we can keep our entire team without laying anybody off and transfer over. Now, keep in mind, right around this time, Blind as a service design company was doing about $4+ million a year, somewhere give or take. And so now we're going to have to generate about $4 million of new revenue, not out of thin air, but we weren't quite there. Previous year, I guess of 2018, I think we did like $1.3 million. And we had been growing at 300% year over year since the beginning. So, excuse me. So I was thinking to myself, If we do 3 times, that's going to be 3.9 million. And that's exactly the replacement that we need. So we made this commitment and we started to turn away work, but that also put a lot of pressure on us to succeed because we weren't going to get distracted by client work. And there's a philosophy here that if you burn the bridge, excuse me, if you burn the bridge in which you came in on, there's no retreat. It's like how you get soldiers to fight. Basically, if you retreat, you die. And so that's what we were doing. And in that year, we didn't quite hit our financial goal, but we did enough to be self-sustaining. So we did, I think, $3.2 million that year, which is pretty phenomenal just by itself. And then we knew this is a legitimate company. So that's how we knew. We had an idea, we had a hunch, we went for it, and we pretty much didn't give ourselves any other option but to succeed. Okay? Now, how do we make money? I want to clear up a couple of things. One is, by our math, in terms of Google ad revenue through YouTube, if a video hits about 1 million views, it's going to do about $10,000 worth of ad revenue.
Yeah.
So if you can consistently put out one video that does 1 million views a month, you will have $120,000 at the end of the year. If you can consistently do that. That's not that easy to do, but it's not impossible either. So people who are used to making videos like Mark Rober or Mr. Beast, who routinely get 10, 20 million views, based on the demographic they attract, they could do better than what we do or a little bit less than what we can do. But you're talking about real money now. This is how, excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah, right. No problem. It's crazy how much
I've been talking all day.
Make.
Okay.
Yes, well, that's right, because it's
so you can
7:30 there, right?
Yeah, so if they get 40 million views, like Mr. Beast will get 40 million views like in 2 days, then you could take 40 times 10. So he's making $400,000 in ad revenue alone. Forget about affiliate marketing, sponsored branded content, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how he's able to like buy a Lamborghini and give it away, or buy a house and give it away, because each video generates more money than he's spending to produce it.
Yeah.
So you could sustain yourself just purely on Google ad revenue. Yeah. What happens is something much more wonderful. If you build an audience, the audience that you build commands attention and can warrant other kinds of things. So you can do affiliate marketing, which by my calculation only brings in a few $1,000s a month, unless it's a special deal. We could do sponsored content, which we can charge anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000 per piece of sponsored content. We also sell courses, which is really how we make the bulk of our money. So we do anywhere between $6,000 to $10,000 in sales a day based on the courses that we sell. And then we also have a pro membership, which is about 400 people who pay us $150 a month to be part of an exclusive coaching community, where I do a live call with the group twice a week. Twice a month. And we bring in subject matter experts to do office hours, and they do coaching calls with them as well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. There's a lot of other ways we make money, but those are the most significant ways.